Welcome to the first episode of Yeah, That's Right. I'm Joe Felix. This is my partner, UGA legend, Jack Wright.
Here we are, ready to get it going.
Today we're going to be entering the war room of some of the AFC and NFC South teams. So, Jack, let's go ahead and start with the Tennessee Titans.
The Tennessee Titans. Okay, so Titans have made a lot of interesting moves in this offseason. They've definitely heavily addressed the secondary. They went out and signed Chidobe Awuzie, and recently, as of 20 minutes ago, the final trade just came through with the Chiefs for L'Jarius Sneed, trading for a third rounder and just swapping sevenths.
$76 million.
That's a lot of money for a corner, but he's proved to be worth it with the Chiefs being a cornerstone of their defense for the last few years. So, addressing the secondary was definitely a big need. They were really injury riddled. There was a post a couple days ago of what the cornerback room looked like at the beginning of last season. This season, it's dramatically different. It was a bunch of scrubs last year, pretty much.
They did still lose their best player to free agency, Derrick Henry.
But they replaced him with what we, believe to be a pretty mid running back. At least one half of that's right feels that way. Tony Pollard was pretty solid 2 years ago. He showed out, especially against my Vikings. Unfortunately, he had like 4 touchdowns and 200 receiving yards.
Yeah. And then he shattered his fibula, I think, or tibia, whatever.
Something. He had a leg injury, and then this year he just wasn't very good.
No.
It was ugly.
I think he might have been a byproduct of the committee type.
Oh, the running back by committee with the Rico Dowdle and Deuce Vaughn.
No,
Zeke. You're saying he was showing out because he wasn't having to be the workhorse back. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Yeah. No, I agree with that. They also went out and signed Calvin Ridley to a 4-year, $92 million deal.
Huge deal.
Which is very ironic because they refused to pay A.J. Brown 4 years, like $96 million 2 years ago, and then they pay Calvin Ridley that amount. And they also signed Kenneth Murray, which I thought was a little underrated. I've seen a couple people disliking that move, but former first-round pick, Oklahoma linebacker who showed a ton of promise in college, just never really got the pieces together with the Chargers. But I think with the Titans, it's going to be a good fresh start, good opportunity for him to kind of expand on his game and fill out into what he's supposed to be.
On our board here for the Titans, the two most pressing needs heading into the draft are offensive tackle and linebacker.
And so they definitely addressed the linebacker with Kenneth Murray. I still think it's a need. The one linebacker isn't really gonna solve all the problems, but 100% I have 95% certainty that at 7 we're gonna see the first tackle go off the board. That's where the Titans picking at 7. We're gonna see the first tackle go off the board, and if I was a betting man, I'd put a lot of money that it's gonna be Joe Alt. Yeah. Joe Alt, best tackle in the class out of Notre Dame. Great prospect. He's been looked at as one of the top tackle prospects in this class since he was a sophomore, I believe. He actually was a tight end, I believe, in high school. And Notre Dame transitioned him. So freak athlete, great prospect. And I believe he'll be the first tackle taken by Tennessee. That's just kind of how I see it playing out.
Yeah, if they want to give Will Levis any kind of chance to be a franchise quarterback, they got to have an offensive line.
Why don't you get us started next? We'll stay in the same division. Let's jump to the Jaguars.
The Jaguars, they just picked up a second franchise quarterback,
They did. Just recently traded a 7th-round pick for a second franchise quarterback, might I add.
Yeah, so they traded for Mac Jones. Solid backup. He's probably second or third best backup in the league right now.
Probably him.
I think Justin's the best as an unbiased Steelers fan.
Yeah, Justin's definitely the best backup. Jameis Winston's with the Browns is probably up there.
And I still think Cooper Rush might be better than Mac Jones.
It's close. It's probably close. Also, Bengals. What's his name? Jake Browning. Jake Browning's pretty solid too. The AFC North's kind of loaded at the backup quarterback position.
Joe Flacco too.
No, he's out with the Colts.
He's gone now.
He's out with the Colts, right? Yeah. So.
But other than that, they signed Ronald Darby, cornerback.
Yep.
Gabe Davis, good wide receiver.
Interesting signing. I'm not a big Gabe Davis fan personally. I think he's kind of one-dimensional. But that might be what you need when you have a guy like Christian Kirk, who's kind of more of a do-it-all kind of guy, good route runner. And then you have a guy who's just kind of a deep threat, go route guy with Gabe Davis. Running a lot of deep posts and fade balls with him. Brought back Ezra Cleveland and signed Mitch Moore. So they really addressed the interior offensive line. Definitely a big need for them, just solidifying the offensive line. Trevor Lawrence has been injury-prone a little bit throughout his career so far, especially last season, has a fair share of injuries. And in order to give him the best chance to succeed, you have to have a good offensive line.
For sure. And they also went out and signed Arik Armstead.
I think they closed the free agency. Obviously it's still open, but they closed those first 3 or 4 days really strong with Darnell Savage and Arik Armstead. I think those are both two very quality signings. I'm a big fan of Darnell Savage, even though he played for the Packers. I think he is. Same with Kenneth Murray. I just don't think he had the opportunity. Like, he was given the opportunity, but I don't think he really was in the right scheme to succeed. And now I think a team like the Jaguars, who just lost Darius Williams, he can kind of fill in that role and play that safety spot a lot better than he was in Green Bay. So I think they closed pretty solid with those two guys. They addressed a lot.
Yeah, heading into the draft.
They don't really have a ton of pressing needs. They're probably going to look to take another receiver. Tight end, it's just Evan Ingram had a great season last year, and he's going to have another good season this year. But after that, he's up there in age now. Tight ends kind of fall off a cliff at a certain point, so you really just don't know. Also in need of kind of another defensive tackle, just another rotational piece, and maybe another edge rusher. You got Josh Allen. You got Trevon Walker, former Dog.
Yeah.
So you got a couple good guys in there, but Josh Allen's franchise tagged again. So if you really want to solidify that defensive line and grab another edge rusher, another interior guy, and maybe not pay Josh Allen next year if it's worth that to you to take somebody because they're at 19, I think, or 18.
Yeah.
So maybe taking a defensive lineman might be the move. Also, a couple guys in the secondary. They could use some help in the secondary. Another corner as well. It's just they're kind of solid throughout all positions. Nothing of dire need. Those, like I said, those defensive line guys. I think a really, really solid true middle linebacker, true inside linebacker could solidify them as a top defense.
Like Miles Jack?
Like Miles Jack was supposed to be. I could see them going somewhere like Brian Thomas. He's very similar to Gabe Davis. That was my big problem with the Gabe Davis signing. Is like, I don't know, maybe it's just a personal thing. I had Brian Thomas as a perfect fit for the Jags. I thought he was a great option at 18-19. 6'3", 6'4", ran a 4.34. Like, would have been a great option to pick up there. But now drafting Gabe Davis, it kind of brings that into doubt. So you start looking at corner around that time.
I feel like most of the corners are going to go in like the 20s, though, right? Is in this class?
No. So the top ones are probably going to go between 8 and 12, would be my guess. I would expect to see Quinion Mitchell or Terrion Arnold to go between 8 and 12. And the second you see one of them go, you're probably going to see another one. So it's probably going to go back-to-back. Quinion.
They're 17.
They're 17? Okay. So you're probably going to see Quinion and Terrion go back-to-back within 3 picks of each other. I've seen a couple things. I've seen the Raiders trading up to 9 or even 8 to take Quinion or Terrion Arnold, whoever you prefer. I've seen the Falcons sticking at 8 and taking either one. So we're probably going to see those corners go. The top 2, at least, in my opinion, go. I could not see either of them dropping past 15. I think 15 is the lowest we're going to see one of those two go. The Colts are sitting at 15, I think. Is that right? I think they're sitting at 15.
The Colts are at 15.
So the Colts sitting at 15. Biggest needs is on the back end of the defense. Linebacker, corner, safety. They went ahead and re-signed Kenny Moore, which was great. Smart signing. I think Kenny Moore has a lot of potential, and he's already shown that he's already a great player, but he's got a lot of potential to be that true star corner status, top 5 corner. They really just kind of stuck with their guys. They didn't go out and get anybody from other teams, really.
Joe.
besides Joe. But they re-signed a bunch of their guys. Re-signed Grover Stewart, which was a pretty underrated signing. I think they re-signed him 3 years, 27. I want to say something like that. Re-signed Michael Pittman. Obviously, need to do that. Re-signed Zaire Franklin. So they really didn't go out and get anybody that's going to knock your socks off. So they just kind of said, let's run it back with a healthy Anthony Richardson. Hopefully, fingers crossed. So like I said, I think that back end of the defense is really where it's going to be. And like I said a couple minutes ago, I don't see one of those corners dropping past the Colts. If the Colts have the opportunity to take either Terrion Arnold or Quinion Mitchell out of Toledo, I think they take that. I could see them going Bowers. I could see it happening. Tackle's pretty unlikely, I feel like. This tackle class is really deep, though. There's probably 6-7 first-round tackles. So I could see it, but I think they're probably going to address the thing they need most, which is corner. So I would have them taking either Terrion Arnold or, maybe even Nate Wiggins slides up or Cooper DeJean. Cooper DeJean. He's the white wonder.
I think they would. I don't think they're going to take him at 15.
That's why I said very maybe. It's just going to depend on his physicals with his Iowa Pro Day.
I could see them going. I could see him more so going after another weapon, if I'm being honest.
Really? Mm-hmm. Like who? Like a receiver?
I mean, I think if they could get Bowers.
Oh, yeah, that's what. If they could get Bowers.
But I don't know what receiver, because the top three are going to be gone.
Oh, yeah. Top three should be gone. So then you're looking at Brian Thomas, A.D. Mitchell, Keon Coleman.
Lad McConkey.
If Lad goes 15th, I'll go nuts. But, man, I really think it's going to be, if Brock is there, they'll take Brock.
Yeah.
But if they don't, I really think it's going to be corner, because I think the drop-off between those first three, you're probably not going to see another one go until
towards the end of
the Jags would probably be the first opportunity for another receiver to go. And then even after that, I could see if a T. Higgins trade happens, the Bengals taking one at 8. I think they're sitting at 18 or 19.
They should be 18, I think. Yeah, 18.
So I could see them going ahead and taking a receiver if that T. Higgins trade is to happen. But, yeah, I really don't think. I could see all of those receivers should go in the top 9, the top 3 that we all know. They should go top 9. Then probably don't see another one until Jacksonville. And then after that, you're looking all the way down at
Steelers could take one.
You're looking all the way down. I don't think the Steelers are going to take a receiver. If they did, it would really shock me.
No, we're good at picking them up later.
Exactly. I was listening to something the other day where the Steelers have a thing where they love picking receivers in the second, third round.
Yeah.
But the earliest I could see another receiver going is Arizona at 27.
Yeah.
Because, they literally, that's if they don't trade Marvin Harrison, or if they don't take Marvin Harrison fourth, obviously, which is, it depends on their trade down spot. But Buffalo is probably going to take a receiver. Baltimore would take a receiver.
Yeah.
Kansas City definitely would take a receiver. So that's kind of where I see the receivers all fitting in. And then last team in the AFC South, the Texans.
Don't have we said earlier, don't have a draft pick.
Don't have a first-round pick, but had a great offseason. They had a great one.
They signed, I don't know how to say that.
Oh, Faka Casey.
Yeah, D-tackle, 1 year.
Faka Casey, yeah, D-tackle 1 year. Just kind of a rotation piece from the Jags.
The big one, my big one is Daniel Hunter.
Yeah, Daniel Hunter's definitely the biggest one by a mile. Really sad to see him go, but just a freak of nature.
Imagine you're going to be Trevor Lawrence, and you're going to have him on one side and
Will Anderson
coming on the other side.
The Texans are set up to make a push for the next 3 years, like a hard push. While this rookie contract is still on for Anderson and Stroud, even rookie contracts on guys like Nico Collins and Tank Dell, they're set to make a push for the next year or two.
How's their interior though, the D-tackle position right now?
Well, they signed Malik Collins, which was pretty solid. I think they re-signed him. Or maybe he left. What happened to Malik Collins? Anyway, they signed I don't know. Now I'm curious what happened to Malik Collins.
They got Nico Autry.
They did get Danico Autry. I think it's just a bunch of rotation guys. They don't have any stars. We had
the interior.
Interior. They did have Jonathan Grenard last year, who came to the Vikings, who was breaking out. I think he had 12 and a half sacks last year.
Okay.
So just kind of upgrading. We literally just traded one for another and upgraded with Danielle Hunter, I think. They also traded for Joe Mixon.
Yeah.
Which, value-wise, there's just not a lot of trade value in running backs. So trading him for a seventh, it looks like they're just throwing him away. But Joe Mixon has been very productive for the last 5-6 years. Like, he's had over 1,000 yards in most seasons.
Yeah.
And with the offense they're not looking for a running back to carry like a Derrick Henry type role, where he literally has to carry the entire offense. It's more of a complementary piece to an already pretty solid offense. So
like a Pacheco role.
Yeah. Definitely more of a Pacheco role. And he can catch out of the backfield, which is going to be great for Stroud. Just having that option, just kind of check it down. So, I mean, signing Jeff Okudah was also kind of cool. Just kind of mostly just a project, just a one and done. Just if he does well, he does well.
Yeah.
But needs-wise, they're still looking at, I mean, they're pretty complete. They could still use a tackle maybe. They have Laramie Tunsil, who's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And, I mean, outside of that, let me look at their depth chart on the right side, because I don't know off the top of my head. It might still be DeJuan Brown.
Who's their starting?
Oh, it's Titus Howard out of Alabama State, I think, or Alabama A&T, like 2 or 3 years ago. Big-time project player coming out, like 24th overall, huge project. And I think he's been pretty solid. But I could see them definitely moving on from him if presented with the opportunity to take a solid tackle in the second round. Shaq Mason's good guard. Kenyon Green, first round guard, pretty solid.
Juice.
I have no knowledge of their center, to be quite honest.
I know they traded for our center.
Oh, he was a second round pick last year.
Ago.
He was a second round pick last year.
Okay.
So probably good on the interior of the offensive line. I mean, from there on, you're kind of just looking at rotational pieces, maybe adding another corner aside Derek Stingley. But really, that's kind of it. Like I said, rotational linebacker, rotational defensive tackle, one more edge rusher rotation guy, just so you're not having Anderson and Danielle Hunter playing 50 snaps in a row. Because, I mean, who do they have out? Derek Barnett. I forgot they had Derek. Oh, and Mario Edwards. Dang, and they have Christian. Holy cow. Their defense is kind of loaded now that I'm looking at it. So I definitely think an extra corner they could use. But even their backup corners are good. I need to look at. They have a really, really solid defense. Now that I'm looking at this, like Christian Harris, great. Azeez Al-Shahir, they just signed him. Henry To'o is like, I guess they could use a secondary linebacker. Okudah's whatever, but even backup Desmond King, solid. CJ Henderson's solid. Jimmy Ward's great. Jalen Petrie, great. Derek Stingley, obviously great. I mean, no wonder they traded out of the first round. They don't need anything. Like, they truly don't. The only thing that, when I was doing my mocks that I had them going, was interior defensive tackle with either Jazon Newton or Byron Murphy. So, God, that defense is so good. I really haven't looked at it like on the depth chart like this, but it's really good. So,
yeah, I think they're going to be the favorite to win
the AFC South
for the next. I would think the next 5 years.
That division is becoming all of a sudden very good, though. The Jags.
I mean,
I personally have faith in the Jags for no reason, but
I don't have.
So yeah, those are kind of our views on the AFC South and their moves so far, and kind of what their roster structure is, and some potential moves they can make in the draft, and where they could look to go in their respective war rooms.
Tune in next time for the War Room of the NFC South.